Cloud.
All right, so we are recording, guys. Lastly, before we turn it on over to Derek, it's recording, obviously. Derek's going to give me his slide deck. We're going to have at least a good snapshot of what we did discuss today for this next hour. I will get that in your inbox on Friday. We do have another session, in 5 hours from now, a little bit later on today. So if you got to bounce and you got to come back later on today, take that class, re-register, or if you want to pass it to your team. But everything that we talked about today will be in your inbox, links, things that we talk about. Usually Derek and I might even bring up other things that could come up today, and we'll get you links to that as well. See some good friends on here, Andre and Alex, cool. And Bruce, hey, how about a surf report? He always gives me a surf report on these trainings, so it's great. You know, from Huntington Beach and SoCal. No, he does. You know, he goes out surfing in the morning, and he's an integrator during the day. That's the life. Yeah. All right, guys. That's about it. One of my best friends in the whole entire industry. I'm going to turn it on over to Derek Webb. Derek, take it away, man.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks, guys. It's been a while. It's good to see everyone again. I see some names I recognize in the participant list as well. So it's great to see some familiar names in here. Hopefully, not too much longer, we'll be able to get back to in person and do some of this stuff in real life again. I'm excited to get out and not just, see the guys that I've been seeing, but see some of the new stores, as Gary was saying. We're growing this local thing in the Snap One partner store like crazy. And I mean, just this past year, we added 6-7 stores, Gary.
Yeah, and like 15 for the next year. I mean, it's good. Yeah. We're coming to you. So, that's the whole initiative there. We want to become at arm's distance and really kind of follow your lead in that sense, if it's ordering online or if it's dropping into the stores. So yeah, absolutely. And hey, Derek, as we go through the next hour, I'll take your pauses and we'll get to our questions, but guys, start stacking up the questions. We will get to everybody, and let's roll.
Yeah, no, thanks, Gary. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. So the goal of today is we're gonna have a little bit of an intro session, if you will, reintroduction session on OvrC. We can go into a few advanced topics and whatever it may be. So if you feel like you're an OvrC expert, I challenge you to ask some questions that you may want to hear some more information about. You want to talk a little bit more about. But we're gonna have a little bit of an intro session on OvrC. Just reintroduce the platform. I've been doing this training a lot for our customers over the past year or so, and I've seen some opportunities for us to rediscuss and keep talking about the platform itself. And so that's going to be our kind of goal to start. With that being said, if you guys hang around near the end, Gary is aware slightly of this, but I was given permission to talk about some really cool updates that we'll be launching tomorrow, that I'm going to talk about with you guys and tell you how you can learn some more about those things as well. So we're going to start a little bit of an intro, and then at the end of today, the next, probably 40 minutes or so, we are going to talk about some cool new things that we're working on as well. So obviously, most everyone here knows what OvrC is. If you don't, that's okay. I welcome it. The goal of OvrC is to give you, as an integrator, a cloud-based remote management platform. And I say platform, not system, not service. It's a platform, and it's meant to be a platform that you can build off of, for your entire business, not just a couple of customers here and there, but for your entire business, everything that you're working through. We want to give you guys a centralized solution to manage everything, and the ultimate goal is to make it as easy as possible, right there in front of you. And so OvrC was built out of that idea. It's been 2014 was when we first launched the OvrC platform, and today it's one of the most important things that we do at Snap One. It's pretty much OvrC and OS3 from the Control4 side are two of our most important software services, if not the most important. And so today I want to just reintroduce and talk about some of the features that have been around for a while, but are still extremely important in terms of how the system is going to function for you guys day in and day out. And before we kind of go into the nitty gritty, I always do like to kind of mention and talk about our Pcna training program. So Pcna stands for Professional Certified Network Administrator, and it used to be just a package certification for networking. It is now a package or Arachnus with OvrC and Wattbox training and certification built in. And so it's not a super, I would say, a OvrC only focused training, but you learn about network management through the cloud, through this self-paced online training course, which is a big deal. And I just like to kind of show a quick little video to start to give you guys a little bit of a idea um, on what this is and how you guys can take advantage of it. So if you give me just a second here, start this video over for you.
Professional Certified Network Administrator, or Pcna for short, is an award-winning training program created to help technicians design and install better networks. Its 6 fast-paced online courses were designed to be helpful and engaging, and the expertly produced curriculum is valuable no matter which networks you use. But the best part of Pcna? It's hands-on. Each trainee gets to choose between a complete set of Arachnus or package networking gear, the equipment they get to keep, so they can continue learning at home even after they're certified. So it's not just theory, it's practice. And the course is a steal. Sign up all your technicians today.
So thanks for humoring me there, guys. I just like to go ahead and just show that, give you guys a little bit of insight there. We're all about giving you as much resources as possible to learn and to stay educated. That's the goal of my team. You know, the global Snap One education team. You know, we are on just about every continent in the United States, either direct people on my team or subsidiaries, partnerships from an education perspective. And we have so many resources, so many tools that you guys have at your disposal to learn and to get the support you need. I already saw a great question come through about some questions around that you know our support team can definitely help with. And Pcna is a tool to make sure that you can be a better tech support person, because you're the first line of defense. Your job as an installer, as a technician, as a business owner in this industry is to provide premium tech support experience for your clients, and they expect it, right? This isn't a if and or but. This isn't a it should work next time, right? You don't get to have that kind of conversation with your clients, especially those ones that are spending, you know, 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. You know, I was literally watching. I like to watch, you know, those random videos on YouTube that, you know, these realtors put on where they show the, you know, $50 million houses in LA. And I was watching one yesterday of a $45 million home, and it was stacked full of product that we sell, that we manufacture. I saw, and so that's an expensive house and that's an expensive job, and you need to be able to provide service that should be expensive. But obviously, it's up to you and how much you charge for it, and that's what OvrC is all about. It's giving you those tools, giving you those resources to provide that premium support experience. And so today, I'm not going to spend a ton of time in this presentation. We're going to talk about a few things here, you know, maybe some things that may have changed this last time, but I want to go through some demos and, you know, just show off some of the features and how you guys can really take advantage of it. And as Gary already said, please use that question and answer function in Zoom to ask questions as we go along. We cannot cover all of OvrC in the next 40 minutes. It is literally impossible. Actually, I take that back. I can talk pretty fast. You may not understand me, but I can talk pretty fast. But we're not going to try and cover all of OvrC in the next 40 minutes. I've got a few key topics I'm going to touch on, and then we're going to make sure we leave time for questions at the end. That's my ultimate goal when I do these things. Is it's just about you guys. I want to make sure that what we talk about is relevant to you. So, like I said, the OvrC side of things, what I always like to revisit and talk about from the beginning with OvrC is, how do you get it? What does it mean to have a product that's OvrC enabled? And the way that we break that down is there's 3 buckets, if you will, 3 lanes that give you access to OvrC. The first is what we call native integration. Native integration to OvrC is all of the hardware that we make. You probably hear your local teams call it 1P, first party products, is because it's theirs. It's our product. It's our hardware. We manufacture it. And because of that, that hardware gets to have a unique access integration into the OvrC platform. And that gives us a lot of really important features. That gives us the ability to, obviously, when the device hits your network, it is talking to the cloud. And what I mean by talking to the cloud is that it's ready to be added to your OvrC account and to manage. Many of you are doing that today. But the important thing is it just has to be that device. There's no hub. There's no other device that has to be there. We'll talk about that hub later, but there's something else that has to be there. The device is ready to go the second you connect it to your network. And that is available in a lot of our different product platforms, whether it's our networking products with Arachnus, Wattbox, Binary with Media over IP, Luma Surveillance, Episode IP amplifiers. That's not just, it used to be our lineup of Episode 70 volt amplifiers. We now have Episode amplifiers in the cloud in OvrC, our hybrid, our 70 volt 8 ohm amplifier in 1000 and 2000 watt versions. We have some recent additions to the Episode lineup with some new network-based amplifiers as well that you can add into the ecosystem. So we're adding to that side of things. Sunbright TVs are in OvrC, and then some things that we recently added to the native integration side of the platform is Pack Edge and Control 4. A lot of people don't realize this, but all Pack Edge products. I believe RK1 and up. So the RK1, RT3100, RT3100, from a router perspective, you move into the SX, MS series switches, and then the WA series Pack Edge access points are all native to the OvrC ecosystem. And we actually are releasing a tool to help some of you guys that are still using Backpack migrate your existing Backpack accounts into OvrC, so you don't have to go in and delete an ad and delete an ad. We're actually introducing a migration tool as well. And then we also recently, for those of you that are Control 4 customers, we recently released 3.2.2 software OS version in the Control 4 side of our ecosystem. And that enables all of your Control 4 controllers to be OvrC native and become an OvrC Pro device. So we're expanding what we talk about as native integration. And we're going to keep expanding. We're going to keep diving in and giving more data, more useful information, which I'll kind of talk about when we get to the end of the day and what that means. I see a great question that came from Seth that, Seth, stay tuned. That's all I can tell you for now. And that's the idea of native integration. And that doesn't just mean device status, right? It's the ability to do remote firmware updates. It's the ability to get in there and make setting changes. When you're using our networking products, it's the ability to take advantage of our new Wi-Fi management solution inside of the cloud. It's the ability to do web connect into those devices. It's a lot of really important information, but the key is that it's free. You buy Snap AV, or sorry, excuse me. I have to put money in. That's like a swear jar when I still say that. You buy Snap One hardware, any of the ones you see there on the screen in front of you, and you get access to OvrC for free. It's a value add to the product. And then we're not going to spend a ton of time on OvrC Home unless there's some specific questions you guys have today. But OvrC Home is an extension of the OvrC native platform. What I mean by that is OvrC Home allows you to give some of the control that you have as an integrator, the control that you have as, to go in and reboot an outlet, reboot that Apple TV, reboot that Direct TV box in the background. The control that you have, you can take some of that and give it to your client. They get their own OvrC app. It's called OvrC Home. You create macros for them to reboot specific devices, outlets on a Wattbox, outlets on a PoE switch, entire native devices in the OvrC ecosystem. You create the experience and you provide it to them. You get a little bit of control to brand it, add some contact information in there as well. But on the face, the face level, the top level of OvrC Home, it's all about giving you some of that time back in your life. And that's one of the most important features of that side of things, of that part of the business. It's just allowing you to take some of that time back. I know you guys want to say, hey, I provide the best support in the world. Great. But you probably don't want to have to provide that support at 11 o'clock at night on a Friday. Everyone has that customer that calls at 11 o'clock on a Friday, and they've had they're a few drinks deep, and something's not working, and they're going to let you know about it. and you either have to fix it or you have to fix it remotely via OvrC, which hopefully is easy. But how about next time, rather than them calling you at 11 o'clock on a Friday, they can call you. They don't have to call you at all. They can pop into there as well and get in and make some changes and reboot those devices. So those are your first two things. Those are free. There's more to OvrC Home. I see some questions that already came through as well around it, which we can dive in a little bit deeper if some more questions come in. And then the last piece of OvrC, and this is why I just like to introduce this here at the end. Talk about this, and then we're going to just go into some demos. I want to just take you guys through the experience of OvrC. The last piece of the OvrC experience is OvrC Pro. OvrC Pro is the last piece of the puzzle, if you will. And it is everything on your job site that we can't make, that we can't manufacture, that either it's a competitive product that you guys like better than ours, right? Maybe for some reason you don't like Arachnus or package networks. Maybe you're a Cisco guy. Maybe you're a Ubiquity guy. Maybe you like someone else's surveillance product line. Maybe you like someone else's amplifiers that are network controlled. I don't know. And frankly, it's up to you. It's your prerogative. That's one of the goals of the Snap One partner stores, of Volutone, of Allnet, of MRI, of Custom Plus, is to give you choice, is to let you as the integrator choose what you want. I'm going to tell you why I think our stuff's the greatest, right? That's my job. But also I think that as well. I've been around for a while. But we know that happens. We know that there are products that you would prefer to use rather than ours, but we also know there's products that we don't make, right? We don't make an audio video receiver full-fledged. If you haven't had a chance to check out the new episode 5.1 mini amp, I encourage you to do so. It's literally an AVR that's this big. That's pretty cool. But we don't make the big boys, the Denons, the Marantz, the Onkyo, the Integras, the Yamahas, the Sonys. And we need to give you guys tools to make sure that you can manage those products as well. And so OvrC Pro is a extension device, a hub that sits on your network that gives you visibility, the ability to see everything on your OvrC ecosystem, on your network, all from one central interface, from one central location, if you will. And it's becoming much easier to get access to OvrC Pro than what it used to be in the old days. Some of you guys that if you were in a room with me now, I would have you all raise your hand if who was around when we first launched OvrC Pro in 2016. Some of you guys may remember those days. That was a confusing time with activation and weird subscription fees, and yeah, we made some interesting decisions. But hey, you know what? We're here now. And the cool thing with OvrC Pro is that once it's on your network, once you have the device there, you're ready to roll. And OvrC Pro is accessible in a few different ways. We have a standalone OvrC Pro hub that you see here, standalone OvrC Pro hub. We have OvrC Pro embedded into all of our Arachnus routers. We have an OvrC Pro also embedded into all of our package routers as well. RK1, the WR1, and the RT3100. And we also have OvrC Pro now embedded in all of your Control 4 controllers running 3.2.2, as well as obviously upcoming versions as well. And so every Control 4 project is now OvrC Pro enabled. Every Arachnus network project is OvrC Pro enabled. Every package network project is OvrC Pro enabled. And then from there, if you don't have one of those three options in play, then you can purchase the standalone OvrC Pro hub to put it onto your network and give you access to all of the great features. I already seen a few questions come through mentioning things like the internet speed test, device health information. We're going to show you great information around the status of your network. Not just our devices, but every device on that network, and if they're showing online or offline. Internet speed test information. We use speedtest.net Ookla to do periodic speed tests to show you, is your client actually getting what they're expected to be getting? Or is it your devices or something else that's giving you an issue? And then unique access to the web UI of a product. If one of those third-party products, whether it's the interface of a Cisco switch or a denim receiver or the interface of someone else's printer, if that device has a web UI, we can give you access through OvrC Pro as well, and some even deeper things beyond that. And then the last bit there is deeper integration into things like actual feature sets of these third-party devices in your ecosystem. Actual feature sets. And so one of the ones that used to be on here as a third-party device to kind of talk about that transition was PackEdge and Control 4. PackEdge and Control 4 used to be an affiliate product. They used to be a competitor to Snap One, if you will. And now that we're all one company, that we are the same company, we were able to build into our firmware to make those devices native. But those third-party devices that are out there still exist. Great integration into Roku, Samsung IPTVs, Ubiquity, Cisco, Google, Denon, Marantz, Yamaha, Pioneer, Atlona, the list goes on, guys. And so it just gives you a lot of really cool things. And so I'm going to show you guys some examples on that. I don't want to keep talking about all the ones that are there. We're always going to keep expanding on this experience. And we listen to local pretty in depth when we kind of are trying to make these decisions in both ways, right? We see, what kinds of devices are going into job sites through OvrC, and that can help us influence, hey, is this an area that we should look at partnering with another company to bring on, to give you access to something new in your local branches? Hey, everyone at local is buying Denon and Marantz. If you can get it, I joke. I know you guys are struggling with that, but if you can get it, and so does that make sense for us to bring deeper integration to OvrC? We actually just announced yesterday or this morning, we're now a global partner with Denon and Marantz on the e-commerce level. So not only will you be able to access Denon and Marantz product in your local branches, you can now buy it from snap1.com and get access to those things as well. So OvrC Pro, it lives and breathes. It's always growing. We have a team that's always looking at this, and we're looking for opportunities to continue to grow it. And so as you see products that, I've already seen some requests coming in about that. As you see products that you guys are using more often, please make sure you're letting your sales reps know, letting your local teams know, because it helps us as well. We can see things, but we also like to hear that feedback and know what you're looking for. And so that's my brief intro into the kind of global platform, if you will. What I want to do next, though, is show you guys some of the actual kind of demos that I was talking about. I see some questions that are coming through as well, and so I'll answer some of those as we go through things as well. Let me see if any of them make sense right now. So Bill asked, we have hundreds of Ruckus access points. Can we support? And so Bill, I'll show you guys some of the OvrC Pro integration with, say, Ruckus today. I can't speak to the future of where we're going, but obviously many of you know, we acquired Access Networks a few months ago, and Access Networks uses Ruckus as the Ruckus Unleashed product line as their backbone for their networking solution. And so with anything that is important and is complex, takes time to see not only what we want to do, but what we can do. So we're still exploring and trying to understand what that can or could look like in the OvrC ecosystem. So right now, today, it's OvrC Pro is your route for that, Bill. But I can't say for what's on the horizon, but it's definitely something that we're looking into. But we're really excited to have just that product in the ecosystem today. And so I saw a question from Kevin as well, kind of asking similarly. OvrC Pro can see those other third-party products. I would say, so you gave the example of like Aruba, right? Aruba is a pretty high-end enterprise-grade access point solution or wireless solution, but also routing and things like that. We can see it. We can give you access to the web UI of, say, each individual piece, but being a central platform to manage the deployment of something like Aruba, we're not there today. But definitely, you can easily deploy OvrC Pro to a job site, and you can monitor the status of all of your Aruba devices on that network, knowing they're coming online, knowing they're falling offline. You can get a lot of really great information, which I'll show you here in a second as well. Let me take a look. So Kevin, if you have the Arachnus 300 series routers, those are not available to be updated to OvrC Pro. The old Arachnus, the AN300, is not an OvrC Pro capable device. This doesn't have the actual power to allow us to run OvrC Pro inside of it. So you need the 110 series or the 310 series of that device. And so I see some good questions that I think we'll get to as we hop into some of these demos here. And so what I am showing you guys right now, this is the OvrC Pro account for our Control4 Snap One education centers around the world. So I told you guys we were everywhere. So we have an education center in India. We have 2 education centers in our Salt Lake office. We have 1 education center in Charlotte, 1 in Chicago, 1 in Frankfurt, 1 in Frankfurt in Germany, Melbourne. For you guys that aren't Australian, we've learned the hard way. That's not Melbourne, it's Melbourne. The R is silent. Don't say it wrong. They'll let you know. We have an office in Shanghai and an office in York in the United Kingdom. And so this is what we use to manage all the hardware in our training centers. We have massive training centers with a lot of hardware. If you've never been to one of our Control4 education centers. And one thing I like to just talk about is from a management perspective. You might be thinking, well, why do you have a new customer for each of these locations? Why not just one customer in multiple locations? If you don't know what that means, let me show you. When you go to create a new customer in Composer, or sorry, I teach way too many different classes, guys. When you go to create a new customer in OvrC, you will see a screen that looks like this. If you didn't know, we also have a dark mode in OvrC, which is why my screen is dark, just in case you were wondering. But you will see an option like this, where you can put in your customer's name, phone number, email address, things like that. We'll talk about this group assignment here in a second. And then you have locations. Many of your customers have multiple locations. I've already seen a few questions come in about these locations. Many of your customers have multiple locations, right? They have location that is their mountain house. You know, you might want to name it. You can put in ISP information of, you know, where that is, and then you can put in an address. And you can save that address, and then you can keep going. You can have as many locations as you want to for your clients. And the reason I recommend from an organization standpoint to do this is it cleans up your customer list over here. It keeps things a little more in tune, and it allows you to really control what we call groups and permissions, the ability to really manage and control the access to your OvrC account, who's supporting who's being notified about what. A lot of really important information. It gets, if you will, segmented when you create proper locations for your clients. And so as you start to create these locations and you start to really organize your clients the right way, when you hop in to your OvrC accounts now, your customer, by default, we're going to show you all of the available locations for that customer. So this is my Charlotte Education Center. This is where I work a lot of the time here in Charlotte. And in our education centers, what we have, Gary and I were talking about it in the beginning, we have one large rack that manages the entire education center. It's a big 42U rack and a lot of equipment in there. And it manages everything for the entire center. It's where my main network is. And then from there, we have 12 individual student stations Each student station is an individual rack of equipment, its own router, its own switch, its own network, its own control force system, all on its own network. There's 12 stations identical. And then there is a 13th station that is my instructor station, the station that is its own network, its own control force system that I teach from. That's a lot of stuff, guys. I need to be able to manage that. I'm sure you guys are used to similar experiences in how this plays out on your job sites today. And I want to be able to manage that appropriately. I need to be able to go into my Charlotte Education Center and see all the devices, all the information for just the center. I need to be able to go back. And if my student station 1 is having an issue, we have a couple of new teachers that we are bringing on board here in Charlotte, and I can't be there with them every single day they're teaching. But if they have an issue and they can't figure it out, I can hop into OvrC remotely and help support them. So I can go into my student station 1 and I can look at the hardware that's connected to that router, the RK1, the Luma IP camera, the EA5 controller, and then a lot of the third-party devices that are in the ecosystem as well. We'll talk about those third-party devices after this. So I really can organize my ecosystem the right way. And so obviously this plays into a residential experience when your customer has multiple homes or they have things like that, or this can play into the commercial side as well. This is an example of a commercial experience. Maybe you have, a client that manages multiple condos in the same property complex, right? They have a smart home experience and things like that. Maybe, whatever it may be, this can play out the right way. And so once you start to really hone in on your organization from a customer perspective, you have all of that. That then brings us into the discussion of groups and permissions. And I want to talk about that before we talk about devices here for a second. So first and foremost, when you go to your OvrC account and you log in or you head over to your OvrC account settings, this is where you add users into your OvrC account. What I mean by users is you're adding in people that are going to use it within your company. Every single person in your company that is going to access OvrC in some way, shape, or form needs to have their own account that you create for them. So you have one owner account. The owner creates the system. They create the OvrC account, and then the owner can add users. And your users can be brand new to OvrC. You can also invite current OvrC users into your account as well, which we'll explain here in a second. And so you can invite a user into your account. And then your users by default are given access to every customer on your OvrC account. But for some of you guys that have large deployments, you have a lot of customers you're going to be managing and working with and helping out, it may not make sense for every employee in your company to have access to every single customer in every single location. Some of you guys may have more than one actual place of business. Maybe we've got a lot of customers in the Northeast that are opening offices in Florida. Because a lot of their clients have second homes in Florida. And so rather than trying to continue to find another dealer in that locale to support your customer, they're just opening a new office. They're sending one of their top techs down there, which is it's all good. It's important to be able to do that. But your guys in Florida don't need to be seeing and getting notifications and trying to support your customers in New York or their second home or their first home in New York. And so groups and permissions not only allow you to first and foremost give access to each user in your company, in your business, but it also allows you to create customer groups. It allows you to create customer groups. And customer groups are groups of customers that have specific users, technicians in your account that are assigned to them. And so let's use the example I just talked about. Maybe this group is going to be called, my Florida office, Florida office customers. And I can put a little description in here. These are customers that are located in Florida. Who knows? And from there, you can set permissions. I saw a few questions already come through around security. You can set permissions on this customer group. What that means is that whatever technician is assigned to support this group, you can restrict what they can or cannot do. So I can remove all administrative actions from this customer group, which means that nobody can view account settings. No one can add or delete anyone else. No one can add or delete groups. No one can do anything administrative. I usually recommend you turn that off for most of your employees if you have a lot in your company. But these are where you really solve things going wrong. I have the ability to restrict access to customer permissions. What that means is that the delete option here, the delete toggle says that any of my technicians that are assigned to support this group, do I want to remove the ability for them to delete anything? They can add new devices to that customer's location, but they can't delete anything. This just prevents anyone from, making a boo-boo. It happens. And then the last thing here is that we have a service through our Luma platform called Lumalink. It gives your clients and you the ability to view live footage and recorded footage of your customer surveillance systems remotely with no port forwarding, no dynamic DNS. It just requires an OvrC login or an OvrC home login for your customer. As you can imagine, that can be a security concern for sure. And so we give you the ability to turn that feature off as well. And so that people that are assigned to support the customers in this group, you can turn off that functionality as a security precaution as well. Some people always turn it off. They don't even use it. And so they make sure to turn it off even if they're not using it. And so you set your properties, your permissions for this group. You then tell this group, which customers do I want to be in this group? Give access to all customers or select specific customers. And then from there, every customer in your ecosystem you'll see in this list. And what you have the ability to do is, let's use my Charlotte Education Center here. I can select, I hit the little plus icon here, every location in that locale I want people to be able to support. Or if I wanted to, I could pick individual locations that I want my team to have access to. And so I could say that I don't want them to have access to every location, but I want them to have access to individual locations in that locale. And so that allows you to start to, dive a little bit deeper into what it is you want your team to have access to and have the ability to support. And so again, Mrs. Jones, she has a house in New York. She has a house in Florida. I want my Florida team to only access that house in Florida. That's that test one here. And so I can make sure that that's what they see. That's what they have access to. But they don't have access to the house in New York because they're not there. I don't need them to see the house in New York because they don't need to support it. I don't want them to accidentally select something that's wrong. And then once you select your customers that are a part of this group, you can then select which users in your company, which technicians are going to be supporting this group. And so that's how you create a group out of the gate. That's how you create your groups. You assign permissions to those groups. And then now that you have a group created, when you go back to your customer list and you build that new customer, right? This is Miss Jones, or we're going to just say it's Bill Smith. I can now assign Bill to just my Florida group in here. I can just assign to the proper group that I need to. The reason I'm unable to make the proper changes there is I remove my permissions in this group. That's going to be an issue. So you can easily create these groups and start to really organize your accounts. Make sure that the right users see the right stuff. You don't need every person in your company seeing everything. You need the right people having access to the right stuff so that they can support the right customer. Groups and permissions is really important for the organization of your customer group. The other thing that you can do with groups and permissions is you can also invite external OvrC users as well. And so I could invite me, my other OvrC account, to share customers with my account. You still own the customer, it still lives in your account, but you can share it. And the best example I'll give you guys on where this makes sense is not just like share with other dealers, but many of you at this point have probably heard of companies like Parasol or OneVision. We're a direct partner with Parasol, if you guys weren't aware. And Parasol is a service to use an integrator to become your 24/7 tech support for your clients. 24/7 support presents a lot of logistical issues for you as an installer. Mainly, how the heck am I going to actually have somebody that's available 24/7? Parasol becomes that group for you. And the way that it works is you create the OvrC account and then you invite Parasol to manage the customers you would like to be a part of that ecosystem. So groups and permissions is really valuable. It helps you with organization. It helps you expand your support ecosystem and your support structure. And it's just overall a great way to think about laying out your OvrC accounts and laying out how you're going to support things, down the road. For a couple of minutes here, let me just talk really quick about some of those OvrC Pro integrations. And then we're going to talk about, obviously, questions that you guys have, and then a couple of the new things as well. For some of you guys that aren't aware of the dark mode in OvrC, if you click on your menu option in OvrC, it should be in the bottom left corner of your web browsers. You should be able to go to your company user information and enable the dark theme in OvrC now. Save that just like that, just so you guys know. So let's look really quick here at some of these OvrC Pro devices. I just like to touch on these really quickly. So if you go to your device tab now, your Control 4 controllers on the latest firmware, if you're on the right firmware to be OvrC Pro enabled, it's going to have a gear, a little play icon in the middle of it, showing you that it is a Control 4 enabled device. And we're only going to give deep information about the controller that is the main controller, the controller running director in your project. So if you're a Control 4 customer, that should make sense. And we're giving some really great information. You can refresh navigators through OvrC. You can force it to check in with Control 4 services. You can force a cloud backup. You can see the status of all of your Zigbee devices in your Control 4 system as well in that project. If you had Z-Wave, you can see that as well. That's valuable information. And then as you are scrolling down your OvrC device list, now every device that is discovered by your OvrC Pro Hub is going to have a Pro icon that you see like this. It's a blue circle with the word Pro written in the middle of it. And then if that device has some extra integration, some deeper integration into our ecosystem, you'll see the plus icon right there next to that as well. So some devices have deeper integration than others. Here's a fun one. This is a third-party Sony TV that we have in. I haven't shared the key from the Sony TV into this just yet. This is a newer feature in OvrC, but if I did, I would have some deeper information here. But you can now reboot Sony IPTVs through OvrC without the need for a Wattbox. We can send a reboot command to that Sony TV right through OvrC. Guys, that's important. That's valuable information. You see all the third-party devices that I can see that don't have integration that are still important to see. My Neo remotes, my touchscreen for my Control 4 systems, my Spectrum cable box. You can dive deeper. I can see all of my package routers from the pro side. These routers are still available locally and natively on their own accounts. The Triad 8x8 audio matrix switch, I can see information about that. I can fix or change the specific inputs on that guy. We have so much great information and control that you can bring into the OvrC ecosystem. Package PDUs. So this is a package PDU that I can control the power on just like it was an actual box. We have the same experience, this same customization with Panamax power products as well. I encourage you guys that are thinking, oh, I wonder if it works with my stuff. I wonder if it works with my stuff. Try it out. There's a good chance it does. We have a lot of great integration with the products that you guys use most often. So OvrC Pro makes your life so much better. It makes your life so much more flexible and smooth. And I encourage you guys that if you're not using it today, you should just get it on your job site. It doesn't hurt. If you don't want to be an Arachnus customer, if you don't want to be a package customer, if you don't want to be a Control4 customer, or if you're just not right yet, that's okay. That's why we have that hub. And that hub is designed to give you access to it. For most people, it's like $300 dealer cost. For a lot of you guys, it's like $150 dealer cost. At the end of the day, it's giving you access to the UI of your devices, which is really, really important to have. You need to have access to that UI to make changes, to go in and just troubleshoot whatever you need to. So I can't get into the UI of the Sony TV. It doesn't like the certification that it uses. But if I were to go in, I mean, here's a good one. I think I have access to this. This is a NAPCO security system. This is the security system. It's a Z-Wave security module that I have in our system in the Charlotte Education Center. I have access to the web UI of that. I can go in and look at the web UI of my Buffalo NAS drive remotely. This NAS drive is ancient, but I have access to the web UI to go in and make changes, see what's going on, log into the actual system itself, and just tweak what's happening. Take advantage of the tools that we're trying to give you guys. And that's what OvrC Pro is all about. So we're at about 12:47 my time. Got about 15 minutes left. I'm going to grab a few questions in here, and then I'm going to show you guys some things we're working on here at the end that you'll see really soon as well. So Seth, we'll get to your question in a second. I see a few questions around, some new functionality in OvrC Home. We're looking to expand. I'm going to talk about that in a second here. I think Artur's just asked that question as well, and you'll see what we're kind of working on today, and then kind of why we haven't done some of those updates yet. So I saw a great question that came in about OvrC Home and giving clients access to multiple sites like a property manager. And so today, with OvrC Home, when you log in, I'm almost positive, it's anonymous attendee, so I can't say your name specifically, that it should give you access. But before I make a fool of myself, let me make sure. I don't think that we can give you multiple site access today. I take that back. It should give you multiple site access today. You should see a little drop down in there when you create multiple locations. Now, if you're creating multiple customers over here, that's a different story. But if you are creating multiple locations, like I taught you guys just now, one OvrC Home account will give you access to each of those locations. But if you're creating multiple customers, that's a different story. With that being said, Mr. Anonymous Attendee, groups and permissions, what I just showed you guys, we've seen a lot of our more business style customers that will create an account for that property manager. And then using groups and permissions, we'll share those customers, turning off all administrative features, all delete features, all surveillance features, and share those specific customer locations with that property manager using groups and permissions. So that customer, they have their own OvrC account. And so they have, usually the property manager needs a little bit more integration, a little more control. And so we've seen a lot of our more business customers take advantage of it that way. So the upper limit, I saw a question around the upper limit of the OvrC speed test. It varies based off the device that you're using, right? And what I mean by that is, like, if the Arachnus router, we try to lower what the router will do for a speed test because of the impact it has on other networking functions. The package router is a little more powerful, so it has a little bit higher end speed test output, and then the Control 4 controller and the standalone hub have a little bit higher end as well. So when I say the upper limit, they're all going to show you, I believe we're like at 300 or 400 megs or higher at a minimum, I guess you could say. But as you go to the more powerful devices, they have the ability to show you better speed test information, because we're actually doing not just like a download from the internet. We're running like a true bandwidth test in that process. So Vincent, kind of what we just talked about there, you know, in regards to some of those things. So George, I saw your question about package PDUs. You kind of saw what I showed you in our education center. While it's not a true native device into OvrC, I don't know that we'll ever be able to get to a point where it is, but it's pretty dang close. I mean, I have the name of all of my outlets. I can turn the outlets on and off, and I can reboot the outlets. Really, the only thing that you're missing here is the ability to set up auto reboot. So it requires OvrC Pro, but it's pretty great. Marcus, great question. Will you need Control 4 equipment to use OvrC? No, absolutely not. Control 4 is the Snap One automation platform as a first-party device. That is our automation platform. And you will see it continually have deep integration into everything that we do. But it's not the only platform that we are going to support or work with or give you guys control and management over. It's our platform, but it's not the only platform. So great question. It does not require Control 4. Paul, I see your question around, can you merge a client's home that I've already entered wrong, or do I have to enter all info again? There's a couple of ways that you can go about that. If you just want to merge like 2 full customers, like you see on the left-hand side, like just fully merge them, there's not a great way to do that for you per se. You can give a call to our support team and they can help you in that process. You can also go in and delete your devices from that one account and then add the OvrC Pro device to the new account. OvrC Pro will automatically scan and add every OvrC device to your customer's location. So with that being said, every job site you guys go to from now on, if you're planning on doing OvrC Pro, make sure that's the first device you add to your network, to your OvrC account, because that's going to scan your entire network and automatically add everything else. It takes all the MAC address and serial number, you know, typing in, takes all that out of the equation. Yanni, I see a great question around some false notifications we'll talk about in just a second. George, does the Sony TV Pro logo that has a plus next to it require a WAP box? It does not. That's the cool thing, man. That's what we get to offer with this deep integration. I can reboot this without a WAP box in the equation. You could, but I can now. George, we do have some integration with Surgex today, specifically with their Envision device, I think is what it's called. You guys know better than I do. It's their device that can sit on the network and really measure deep powered statistics. We have integration with that. We can also control the outlets on Surgex devices as well. They make some really cool products. We know you guys use them a lot, and so it only makes sense for us to bring those into the equation. So I don't have any examples, Dan. You asked about Ubiquity integration. I don't have any examples of Ubiquity to show you right this second. What I can say that from an integration from Ubiquity, it's a device by device support perspective. What that means is that you will see, and I'll show you guys here in a second because I'll be able to show you some of the new stuff. You'll see your Ubiquity devices. I don't have any third-party switches online to show you right now, but your Ubiquity devices, you're going to see the ability to control the ports on a PoE switch just like you would an Arachnus or a package switch. You're going to have the ability to reboot PoE, and you're going to have the ability to log into the web UI of that third party or that Ubiquity switch, that Ubiquity access point on a one-to-one device, wavelength, right? We can't provide or give you like a replacement for the Ubiquity full management solution, but we can give you one-to-one device access and control. So it's a great question. And so I want to spend the last few minutes here talking about what's on the horizon, because a lot of the questions I'm seeing are great and they're relevant to what we are working on that we're hoping to have released very, very, very soon. And what I mean by that is one of the questions I've seen pop through here recently is around notifications and false positives and devices that are showing offline but aren't actually offline because the client tells you it's online, it's working, or getting inundated with a lot of notifications for random devices that just keep popping on and offline, and we don't know why. Notifications have become somewhat of a sore subject for some of you guys, and we get it. So we've been, one of the biggest things we've been working on for the past year, even probably a little bit longer than that, is a full revamp of the OvrC notification backbone. The way that we are deploying notifications on your job sites is changing for the better. And we are really focusing on service and the ability for you guys to get to the root of the problem as fast as possible. And so what that will look like going forward is this. If you guys want to learn more about this, we are planning to announce a new webinar on September 8th that will give you a deeper dive into this new OvrC notification update coming to the platform. This is a really big update to the platform. So first and foremost, this is your new customer device list from a web browser. It'll look very similar on your tablets and your smartphones, but now your customer device list is front and center, right in front of you at all times. If you have multiple locations, you can see all of those locations from one screen right there in the device list. And as you go in to your devices now, as you go into your OvrC Pro account, you will start to see a new device status called limited. So you have always had connected and disconnected. Connected, is it currently connected to the OvrC cloud? Is it currently disconnected from the OvrC cloud? And we will now give you a new device status called limited. And what we are doing is we're using the OvrC Pro Hub on your job sites to say, okay, well, you are disconnected to the cloud, but we can still see you online locally. You're still there. So something odd is happening on that network. Maybe it's your fault, maybe it's not, maybe it's the customer's fault, but if the device is limited, there's a good chance that your client's system is still up and running. It's not a, all hands on deck type of scenario. And as you go in and you look at your devices themselves, you'll see that limited icon showing next to your devices as well. So this WAP box is online, but it's saying that this device is not connecting to the OvrC servers. It's there, it exists, but for some reason it can't talk to the OvrC servers. From my perspective, from a troubleshooting perspective, that gives me a little bit more of an indication of what I can go do. I would probably just pop on there and reboot, hit the little reset pin node on the WAP box itself. But from your perspective, from a support perspective, hey, Mrs. Smith, hey, Mr. Jones, is your system working? Is anything not like, This allows you to make that decision. Hey, it's working. I don't need to make the 4-hour trip right now to go in there. It's not talking to OvrC. And that could be anything. And it gives you a place to start. It gives us a place to start. But what it does is we've also revamped how we notify you of these things happening as well. Devices now are much more specific in how they notify of an offline status. What that means, we revamped the algorithm for how long a device has to be offline. It has to pass through certain checkpoints for us to say, hey, it actually is offline. And through our beta testing, we have already seen an 80% reduction in notifications through this process. An 80% reduction already in beta through this process. And it doesn't mean that your devices aren't going online or offline. It's just we are shrinking the amount of false positives that you guys have been seeing out there. This is a major background, change to make this go through and flow for you guys appropriately. And then the last immediate thing you'll see is the notification page itself has been revamped. Much easier to follow. You're going to be able to see the customer's name, the specific location, the device we're talking about, when this occurred in the right time zone. And we're even going to allow you to start assigning job codes to your customers and reference IDs. This helps if you're in a really, really big support structure and you want to be able to assign these things appropriately. If you open up the actual notification itself, it will show you all of the notifications associated with this event. So we're helping you get to the root of the problem faster. And then if you need to go and support that, we have a new go to device option that will take you directly to that device's page so you can start to troubleshoot further. So this is a brief intro, guys, into what you're going to see very soon. I had hoped to do a full training today, but we're not quite released yet. You'll see more very soon. You'll have access to this very soon. And you should see some invites coming from Snap One here in probably this afternoon to another webinar where we're going to take a deeper dive into this specific feature.
Thanks,
I'm sure
Derek.
Gary will push it off to you guys.
Yeah, I'm glad you introed it that way, coming from your chair. I'm sure you had a lot to do with that, and you're exactly right. I built the Zoom links, and you know what? You took away my ability to even have a video. So thank you very much for completely taking over, Derek.
you can
power that he has, ladies and gentlemen. No, but I know you can hear me. But hey, listen, guys, I am going to send an invite for this training on September 8th. Going to be the same exact situation, early morning and then later on the day, same as what we do on the Wednesday webinar series. And Derek, you're hosting it, correct?
I don't know if I am hosting it or not.
Maybe it's
probably going to be Evan.
Okay, that's fine. Hey, he won't take away the power, and I'll be able to talk to you guys face to face. But I'm going to send everybody that invite. So let's just treat this as, hey, we went through today's training, which was incredible, by the way. Thank you so much. And you kind of introed this, and let's dive into this, and let's just take this as a level 2. I don't know, what are you calling it? We're calling it the OvrC update, correct?
Yeah, it's the OvrC notifications update.
Okay, notifications update. And I'm going to give you guys an hour to go through that. My first question, and that's my first real visual onto it, Derek. Thank you. How much of this is going to be done automatically? I mean, you saw it. You showed us some notifications that they're going to see. That orange button, for instance, is new. Will they see that in the next 10 days or so? And
if you have OvrC Pro on a job site, there will be nothing you have to do to make this start working. If OvrC Pro is deployed on the job site today, this will start flowing second the update goes live.
Okay. Do you think, in your opinion, is this kind of a self-explanatory or for our dealers that are on this, an exploratory and learn as you go type of thing? Yes, we're going to set up a detailed training, but I'd like to know if I was, like by next Tuesday, I'm starting to see this and I'm starting to integrate. I'm starting to update those reference sites, as you mentioned, that are changeable, etc.
I think that when it first launches, you'll see some training content already from our team that will help you kind of get up to speed quickly. We'll have some blog post on it and whatnot. I highly suggest you take advantage of that webinar on September 8th as well, though, because we're going to talk about some more of the specifics. Evan's going to give you probably a little bit deeper insight into the background of what we truly did to accomplish this. This isn't just a, hey, we're like changing the time frame of how long we're waiting for notifications. We truly rewrote the book, to how we deploy these and deliver these to you, to the dealer on the end, because it's important. Like, you need to be able to have extreme confidence in what your systems are doing. And if you continually get false positives, you lose that confidence. And then what good is it in the first place?
Well, if you said it's an 80% reduction in that false positive, that indicates to me that we did a lot of work on our own system to help that out, which is awesome. We really appreciate that. Okay, guys, I'm going to get you that link. Do you want to continue with some questions? Did you get through that whole thing, or how are we sitting?
I think we're flowing good. I think most of the questions I was able to kind of grab. There's some more specific ones, and if you guys have Gary's info, so if you want to flow those Gary's way, he can forward them on to me. I'm happy to answer them via email. I have no questions about that. And if you ever need to get a hold of me, my email address is derek.webb@snap1.com. Pretty easy. My first name dot last name at Snap One. I did see one that I wanted to just kind of close out on from George. Does each non-OvrC device need a hub to connect to OvrC? Yes. So, for example, George, if you had an entire job site of Luxor networking gear, Denon AVRs, URC or a LAN control system with a bunch of, Sony IPTVs, not a single one of those devices we manufacture. And so you would need an OvrC Pro Hub to monitor any of those. And when those exist, we have customers today that they only buy OvrC Pro from that management perspective. If you want to manage any third-party device, you will need OvrC Pro. Our hardware can exist standalone. Only some of that hardware can add OvrC Pro. So if you want more clarification, feel free to shoot me an email and we can dive deeper.
Got it.
I think I'm good, Gary.
Okay, great, guys. Awesome training. September 8th, look for my email on Friday. That's going to contain this video as well as Derek's slide deck. Derek, we will be back on this in 4 hours. If anybody needs to get your text back on that, go ahead and re-register, and I will see you at 2 p.m. West Coast. Awesome job, everybody. Thank you so much, you guys. Remember, the Pro One partner stores are growing. We are here for you. Only here can we offer this type of training with the type of conversation that I like to bring up that's just about us and our needs. You heard it here first with an announcement like that, how quickly we're trying to get data to you guys. So let's go out and get it. I know it's busy out there. Continue to be safe. Derek, I'll see you in a few hours. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Gary.